You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
OMG, how much I forgot how hard kids are.
What fresh hell.
Laughing in the face of motherhood.
Like those poor kids in the meat plants in Nebraska.
With Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson.
I'm definitely doing like child labor here.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to.
Your kid got into travel sports and you'll be spending every spare cent you have on hotel rooms.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. And this week we're talking about financial literacy, teaching kids about money. Is it a thing we need to teach them? You know, what happens if they don't have it? That kind of thing. What happens if we don't have it?
Yeah, it starts at home, and that means we're in big trouble at my house. And we have talked on earlier episodes, which we can link to, about like chores and allowance and balancing that. This is a little bit more... Stop me if I'm wrong, Amy, a 30,000 foot view of the problem, right? Like, how do kids even understand money in the year of our Lord 2023 when, like, I mean, even how do I understand money? The fact that, like, I can walk anywhere and be like, blink, blink, blink with my phone. And just like the first time I realized you were allowed to do that, I was like, oh no. Like, this is going to be a big problem. Like, money is meaningless. And also my kids are like, I'll just get on Amazon. Click, 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 click.
Right. You've hit on two of I made a list of like the blind spots that have really surprised me about my kids. And that's a big one, definitely. Like, and for us too, as you say, like, I need something, beep, bop, boop. And then the box is there 18 hours later and you just get it. You don't think about what it costs. You're not handing over the money. Like, do I really need this, three-way plug for the car? Or does it just look cool? And I'll throw it in the cart, add to cart. It's not a real cart, but it is a real cart.
Absolutely. And I think that is a piece of this that I have been struggling with. And I did in the last month or two call a family meeting in which I said, no more Amazon ordering. But for me, my husband is terrible about it. I mean, how many like different annoying plastic cat toys do we need? And then it's like, oh, well, they have this adorable like 4-story, furry cat house that the cats could play in. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want a 4-story cat house in my living room. It's disgusting.
And you certainly don't need another one auto shipped in 4 more weeks, right?
Oh God, the auto stuff is absolutely mesmerizing. It's all bad. I mean, my financial literacy.
It's all bad.
We might need to just look at the man in the mirror on this episode.
It's gotten more. So my kids are 20, 18, 15. I have big kids. And I've seen, of course, even the time that they've been alive, it's totally changed. When my 20-year-old was 2, I was writing checks once a week. Like, that was at least visible in some way. They'd be watching a cartoon and I'd be getting out like, time to do the bill pay. And I'd get out my stamps and my envelopes and my checks. And they'd be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm paying bills. I mean, it might have been esoteric to them, but they were at least aware it was something that one had to do. My spouse talks about growing up and being very aware that some months were better than others because some months had 5 Fridays in them, which meant 5 paychecks. And some months only had 4 Fridays. And so 5 Fridays were when you could talk about getting, the dishwasher fixed, right? And 4 Fridays were like, we're going to have to put that off for a month. And he was extremely aware of my dad makes money and then we have money to pay for things, or maybe we don't have money to pay for things we have to save. It just was very, not that that's always a welcome feeling, I guess, but knowing like what we have and don't have enough money for, it was very front and center for him and understood that that was something that his parents had to calculate. And I just think it's gotten very absent from our kids' consciousness.
Well, I think that's interesting. And I do wonder, and I wouldn't have thought of it, but like, is part of the issue having disposable income? Like, I am at a point in my life, and I've had, feast and fallow, but I am at a point in my life now where I have disposable income. Like, I have money to buy the furry cat house without having to be like, it's not in this much budget. Like, we have, during my marriage, we have done the thing digitally, but like where we had an envelope for like grocery money. And when it was gone, we didn't, that was it. We didn't eat out anymore. And we've had, credit card debt and all sorts of problems. Currently, I am at a good financial place where I have, we don't have college funds, but we have some float in the monthly budget.
You could buy a cat house, and it's pretty cool. It's 4 stories.
Listen, guys, I don't mean to brag, but I don't have to look at my bank statement before I buy a furry cat tower. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. No, that is literally exactly where I am. Like, I think of my budget as like, can I go to Target without thinking too much about it? Or can I like want to go to Target and be like, yeah, I really can't go. I don't have money. That's what I'm talking about, float in the budget. But I do think it does make some difference in terms of like, this month we can't afford to is not a phrase I particularly need to use with my kids, although I do find myself often saying, we can't afford that, or that is too expensive. But that just means like, I'm not spending, $1,000 on an electric scooter or something, I mean, it's way out of scale to like some months have 5 Fridays and some months don't.
Right. So, I mean, I think we both want to say, right, it's a place of privilege to have kids who think that the ice cream bars at the town pool grow on trees and they just get them every day and they don't realize you're getting a big bill at the end of the month, right? Those are lucky kids and those are lucky families. But there are ramifications to having these blind spots, because as I always do, I sort of was like, okay, is this, but who cares, right? Does it matter? I think it does, but does it matter that my kids have gone from understanding what cash is kind of to understanding what a credit card is kind of to like leaving my kid flew across the country. Again, he's 20. He can do his own thing. He was leaving not only without cash, but without a credit card because he has Apple Pay. He's like, I have Apple Pay. I'm fine. I'm like, don't you need cash? Like, you're going to stay in an Airbnb. Like, your car might break down. Like, you need cash. No. I have Apple Pay. Now, I stuffed some cash in his backpack because I was insistent that he needed it. And he took it because his old mother wanted him to. It's so hypothetical at this point.
Oh, I've been in 2 places recently where I needed cash. And I'm like, cash? Just like basically like we stopped at a pool in a town on vacation and there was people serving, food and drinks at the pool, and they had a tip jar that was cash only. I was like, first of all, I'm in a bathing suit. And second of all, what is cash, And another thing, like where we are on, a shuttle bus traveling, and it's like, you need cash to tip the driver. Didn't have it. I mean, cash. I never have cash, ever.
Yeah. I saw it. My youngest, she's a teenager now, but I went on a class trip to Philadelphia. And of course, we went to this big museum. And of course, the most exciting place is the gift shop. And the school had said ahead of time, do not send these, 4th graders with credit cards, please. Like, you can send them with no more than $20, I think it was. And of course, they were like, that was burning holes in their pockets. And because I was a chaperone on this trip, I ended up sort of hanging out at the cash register and watching these kids be severely challenged in a good way. Like, they were super excited at, okay, this stuffed animal is $16.99, and then with tax, it's $17.18. I'm making that up, obviously. And watching them, pull out the money and then get the change back and count it and think about it. And like, where do I even put this? Where do you put change? Do I have a pocket? Is there a place I'm supposed to put this? It was fascinating to watch them. Like, they've never had to do this before, any of these kids, including mine. And again, I was like, does it matter? We're all going to pay for things with our minds now. Does it matter that my kids know the difference between a nickel and a dime? I think it does.
I think it's more challenging. It reminds me of, this was when we were kids. Like, I was early teenagers, probably my own kid's age. And we went on vacation somewhere. We tended to go on vacations growing up at other people's vacation place. Like, we're going to Mr. So-and-so's house, and they would have, and we went to one, and it was some sort of like all-inclusive resort. And we were given keys to the rooms, and we went with cousins. And the keys, we realized without being told, you could go anywhere on this resort property and buy things with the key. Like, they would somehow put it on your key. And my dad walked by at some point and heard my brother proudly exclaiming to a group of like 4 or 5 of us, everything you put on this card is free. And he was like, whoa, shut it down. He immediately was like, who has bought what? And I do think the idea of like, I just turn my phone towards something and it's mine, and I just click on anything I want and a box shows up with it the next day. It seems to me that it's so much more challenging than here's $20 and bring me my change.
Well, there's a study. MIT did a study.
Of course there is, Amy. Of course there is.
And it isn't just about kids. This is why it's interesting. I think they surveyed adults. They found that people will spend twice as much money on the same item when they're paying with a credit card as they will with cash.
That totally tracks. And I did not realize this, but most of the retailers, I won't even name any of them, but most of the online retailers that we use I was talking to someone who works in this business, and they have algorithms that sort your results. So like if you go into any online retailer and you type, warm, fuzzy socks, that's what you're in the market for, right? What you see is not like the cheapest or the best socks. It's people pay to be at the top of the page because they know that most people buy one of the first 5.
Right.
Like I definitely live in the beep boop financial culture of my kid needs a watch for camp. Okay, cheap kids watch, put it in somewhere, click on it, and then it shows up. I don't sit there and be like, which is cheaper, which is better? Is $27.99 a reasonable price for a kid's watch? I don't know. I typed kids watch, a picture of a kid's watch popped up. I clicked on it and it arrived.
And like a kid's watch is one thing, but right, if we want our kids to understand, the difference between like, is the $1,200 washer that we're going to buy really twice as good as a $600 washer? Do we wait for it to go on sale? Like these kind of things. It's one thing when it's an ice cream bar or a watch, and it's another thing where they're just sort of major purchases that these kids are going to make someday as adults without ever having done that. Maybe you get real clear about it real quick when you're paying your own rent and living on ramen noodles, but I'm not sure if you never saw it modeled in the first place.
I think that's probably true. And what I mean about the algorithm stuff too is just like decisions are being made for you by a computer that is not the same as you being in a store. Like, yes, they put stuff by the front cashiers for impulse buyers. Like, I do want a little book that's called like 60 Kitten Facts or whatever, but that is less strong than like an algorithm that is constantly showing you like very specific things and teaching you and training you that like just click and buy and don't ask yourself any other questions.
And I'm totally susceptible to $50 gets you free shipping. Like you're $27, but if you spend $50, you'll get free shipping. I'm like, okay, get more stuff I don't want so I can get that free shipping.
So susceptible. And, we've talked about on episodes about garbage and stuff. It's one thing I really have tried to realize that things are junk when they enter your house, not when you have to throw them out a year later, like that cat tree is currently like waiting to be thrown out basically, because of course, after 3 days, like 2 cats ripped it to shreds and like it tipped over and it was a cheap piece of junk and we got what we paid for. But the idea of like the immediate gratification of anything you need, troublesome, Amy, worrisome to me.
Very worrisome. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, I have a quiz that we might take live.
Hit me.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. All right, quiz me, Amy.
So we're talking about, do little kids who don't understand money turn into big kids who don't understand money? So the Brookings Institute did a survey of college students who were asked 3 basic questions about inflation and interest and risk diversification.
Okay.
And these were kids that were about to graduate with loans that they had to repay. So they were kids who were about to own loans. They were asked very basic questions about loans, and only 28% of students got these questions right. Would you like to consider taking this quiz? I'm telling you, it's an easy quiz.
Hit me. Yeah. I'm feeling confident, nay cocky. Amy, let's see.
Okay. Let's test your basic financial literacy. Okay. And these are not trick questions. Just like, don't be like, well, I think the answer is this, but it must not be. No, the answer is that.
I want to reserve editing rights if this goes horribly wrong.
Okay. So you have a savings account, and the interest rate on your savings account is 1% per year, and inflation is 2% per year. After a year, if the interest rate is 1% and inflation is 2%, will you be able to buy more with the money in your account than today? The same or less than the money in your account today?
Less by 50%.
The answer is less, yes.
Less by 50% on the interest only. Let's be clear.
Yes. Okay, so the second question is interest. Suppose you had $100 in a savings account and the interest was 2% a year. After 5 years, how much would you have left in the account? And don't panic, because the answers are more than $102, exactly $102, or less than $102, earning 2% on $100 for 5 years.
I mean, the correct answer is $110, which is more than $102.
Yes. And it's probably actually 111.111, something like that, right? But yes, the answer is more than $102. And then the last question is this true or false? Buying the stock of a single company is usually safer than buying a mutual fund with several stocks.
I mean, my financial literacy rules. It is definitely false.
That's definitely false. You want to diversify your risk.
I got 100%, didn't I?
You win. You were better than 75% of college students. And I was totally nervous before I took this test too, but it's kind of a basic quiz. And what's even more grim about this, the Brookings Institute, when they reported these results, was students with the lowest financial security were much less likely to be able to come up with the correct answers to these questions. They have less financial security. They're more likely to have a little loans, and they don't understand the answers to these questions.
I'm going to push back a little, as they say. I do think that it's the wrong time to ask a question. I think that asking it 5 years after, because as you say, once you do, you kind of learn by doing a little bit. I'm going to tell it myself. Talk about, I was listening to one of Michael Hobbs's podcasts, maybe Maintenance Phase, the other day, and they were talking about people being like, kids don't socialize anymore. Like, that's the big problem, is that kids, they just skip the part of dating, and that's not a part of our lives anymore. And the date on the article was like 1922.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's right. Like, people are always like, this is a new problem, and it's not really that new problem. When I was in college, I got my first checking account with like my money that I had earned working at Baskin Robbins during the summers, which maybe had $1,000 in it. I don't know, maybe $700, not that much. Got a check, got my checkbook, all set up, ready to go. And then I wasn't on the meal plan. And so I started writing checks to be like, okay, my groceries were $102. Like, here's my check. And then I just kept writing checks. And then I went to the grocery store one day, and the manager like corralled me, and they had like a picture of me on the wall, and they were like, you've been writing bad checks. And I'm like, what does that phrase mean? What's a bad check?
Hot check? What do you mean?
I thought a checking account was like a credit card that you could just, and like some checking accounts, to be fair to my dumb self, are like this, that you can go into the negative and then they just charge you interest on that negative balance. Like, it is, they're usually. But my father, who works in law enforcement, when I told him this, was like, you have to stop writing bad checks. That is a federal offense. And like, please do not do that anymore.
You thought it was just a sweet handwritten promise on like nice blue paper.
I was like, I'm good for it. I'm still working. Like, I make, whatever, $250 a week. I'll hit you up next time, Union Food Co. or wherever I was shopping. And I truly had no idea that that's not how checks worked. But I touched the stove. I got burned. I mean, the man was literally like pointing to a picture of me, a Xerox picture of me on the wall, and like screaming at me and threatening to arrest me. And guess what? I stopped writing bad checks.
I think so. Yes, you're exactly right. Like, you learn these lessons maybe the hard way pretty quickly. But if the Brookings Institute was setting out to prove, I think what they were setting out to assert is that we don't teach kids financial literacy in school. And so they're about to graduate college without basic financial literacy most of the time. That part's true.
For sure. And I remember in high school, maybe, it must have been high school, at some point being taught like how to write a check. Like, you put the date here. This is who it's to. I don't know what class, maybe life skills or something. I don't know what class that would have been. But definitely there was no like, and stop writing them when you're out of money. I don't know where I guess they think that you learn things. It's like when I went to college and I was just throwing all my clothes in together in the laundry, and my college roommate, from whom I borrowed something, was like, this is gray. What did you wash it with? And I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying. And she's like, you have to separate lights from darks. It was complete news to me.
So maybe this is less a, 2023 problem and more a wherever thus. Kids don't get it until they're adults. But I do think it's, at least you weren't just going like boop, boop, holding your phone up to things. And I do think our kids are going to be even more like, wait, what? I do wonder about that.
Oh, I think that like money has value is something that is, I mean, the other day we were driving and we were talking about what would you do if you had $10,000? And my kid was like, I would get an apartment in Manhattan. And I was like, okay, great plan. I mean, they literally have no idea what things cost and what the value of money is. That stuff, I think, comes with time. I also think sometimes, I mean, my kids have an allowance. And so whenever they want stuff, I'm like, do you have the money for it? Because if you don't, you can't have it. And I think that's a helpful way to teach them the value of money. Although that's not, I don't do that with like camp fees and like train tickets to places they have to go. But anything they want that's outside of that category, they have to pay for themselves. And I will say some of it is, as you would say, Amy, baked in the cake. Like, I have one kid, my kids get a $5 allowance a week. I have one kid, and some of it is first communion and birthday money or whatever. One kid has like $480 in the bank. One kid is like living on fumes and spending the $5 every week. And the other kid is like negative $110 because he's borrowed money from like me and his siblings.
Which one's going to write hot checks?
Oh, believe you me.
He won't be writing hot checks. He'll be making hot boops with his phone everywhere.
I'm like, you will either grow up to be old deluxe alert.
Back in my day.
Gordon Gekko, the guy from Wall Street, who's like, greed is good. Like, he will either grow up to be like a Wall Street, like person who like buys little old ladies companies and crushes them for his own profit, or he possibly will be, you know, some sort of financial swindler. But he's all kinds of trouble.
We did a fresh take with Bobby Rebell. I'll put the link in the show notes. And I talked to her mostly about kids who are getting ready to leave the nest and, you know, letting them make their own decisions about money, even if it's hard. But we started with a very 30,000 foot view. And I went back and looked at it, and I thought these were two really good points. She says, you know, when we're teaching kids about money, there are two things that we often get wrong sort of globally. One is we don't, much like race, maybe we won't talk about it, and then they won't notice that somebody has more and somebody has less. We don't talk about it. And the other thing she says is overly shield them out of a sense of like kids don't need to know everything, but overly shielding them from reality. She argues that kids should understand. Like, I know you want to go to Disney World like your cousins, but we don't have the money to do that right now. And then we can save for it and what saving for it might look like, and, you know, bring them into the conversation of really wanting something and not being able to have it. And what does it take to either accept that or move towards saving for that we don't include the kids in those conversations at all sometimes.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense to me. And I think this is like fabric of life. I do think I tend to come out on team like, you can potty train a kid at 18 months. If you want to spend a lot of time and work on hand signals, like, you can definitely potty train a kid at 18 months. But I am more suited to just taking a 3-year-old and being like, here's how the potty works. Okay. And they get it, you know, like 5 minutes later.
And they get it in a weekend. Right.
And I think financial literacy, you know, I think you could spend a lot of time talking and teaching them like interest and deductibles and all of that kind of stuff. And they'll also just figure it out when you're not paying their bills anymore pretty quick. I mean, that was my experience. So I trust in that. But I think in the big picture, the idea of, it's the boring old, like, how you spend your days is how you spend your life, and how you spend your life is what your kids are going to understand. And so if you are just like beep booping through life, like, let's get it, that's going to be very ingrained in your kids. And if you're like, whoa, let's think about this. Is this something we really need? Is this something we can afford? Like, is it something that, you know, I had a kid who wanted to go to summer camp a couple years ago, and we looked at them and they were outrageously expensive. And my fear was then the other two might want to go. And we really couldn't afford to send 3 kids to, like, you know, a 3-week long sleepaway summer camp. And so I said, you know, we just really can't do it. And everybody else forgot about it, but this one kid stayed with it, saved some money, put some money towards it. It was definitely a little bit of a stretch for us, but I was like, okay, you can now go to summer camp on the 3rd year you're interested in it. You're going to help contribute to it a little bit. And like, we're maybe in a little bit of a better financial situation, but I think those lessons stick with kids in a very specific way.
They're so worth it. I was that kid. I wanted to go to a drama camp in high school, and we didn't have the money for it. There were 5 kids then. And the camp gave me a little bit of a scholarship, but my parents said, okay, you're going to raise some money. I had a job. I was in high school, but I also did a garage sale of my family, and we sold all the like strollers and broken vacuum cleaners, whatever. Like, I dragged it all out I oversaw it. I took the ad out in the newspaper. I put the price tags and everything. I mean, that whole, if that raised $50, it must have been, right? That was maybe not the most cost effective way to raise money, but they did get their garage cleaned out. It was the effort, right?
But it's not, I mean, I have a feeling this is where we're heading towards solutions. It's not really the money. It's the fact that, like, you realized that you have to work for something.
Yeah. And they realized, wow, she must really want to do it. If she's doing this whole garage sale, I guess we have to send her, right? Kind of like you felt like you're one kid that kept bringing it up. Like, okay, I guess they really do want to stretch for this.
Yeah. And I think that for people who really do need the financial help, that's helpful. And I think for people who don't need the financial help, it's also a really good idea to instill the value of, like, things don't come for free. I am currently, and we will be talking about it on an upcoming episode, babysitting 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. And my 11-year-old and 13-year-old are my mother's helpers. And I mean, it's terrible, Amy. I cannot wait to do an entire episode about OMG, how much I forgot how hard kids are. But my helpers, and I talk to them, I'm paying them $40 a day, which is really a pretty good deal for me because it's not that much money and they are really helping a lot. But I'm making them like change diapers and watch the kids, and then we clean up after every meal. They're really, really working.
That's great.
Last night, one of my kids got in bed and was like crying, and he was like, I hate working. And I was like, yeah, welcome to work. But I said to them, I was like, I will pay you, but you're going to work. And one of the reasons I want to pay them is so that I could dock their pay. I threatened to dock their pay so I could make them work harder. And I mean, believe me, if anyone from like a labor organization is listening to this, I mean, don't turn me in. I'm like a complete, horrible boss.
Like those poor kids in the meat plants in Nebraska, right?
I'm definitely doing like child labor here. But I mean, I do think that you can, what am I trying to say, layer this on?
Yeah, you can make it. It's another thing that Bobby Rebell suggests is that you kind of talk about what your values are as a family. And she uses the example of like, talk about when they want the $200 pair of sneakers. Well, why are they $200 and marketing and that kind of thing? And she said her own solution with her kid, as I recall, was just, okay, I'll pay. Let's look at other good sneakers. These $75 sneakers would hold up really well for gym all year long, but you want the $150 ones so that extra, if it's really, really important to you, is going to come out of your own money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes a tremendous amount of sense. And and the other thing that and I think it's worth introducing as a concept is now my kids are going to get a big chunk of money because it's $200, right? We've been doing it for 5 days, $40 a day. And I just introduced the concept of it might be nice. One thing Dad and I try to do is take 10% out of the money that we have and find somewhere to give it to. And let me tell you, one of my kids was like, that is such a good idea. I'm going to give it to the kittens at the, animal farm. My other kid was like, say what now? Do what exactly? His face, this is our Gordon Gecko kid. His face went completely white. Give away some of my money? And again, I'm like, you can make whatever decision you want. But this is just putting in your path that this is sometimes a nice thing to do when you get money.
Well, we'll see what happens, right?
Oh, yeah. Gordon Gecko's not into it at all. All right. We'll be right back. Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
And And now, things we are sorry to break to you about your financial future.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
You had a plan to pay off your mortgage this year.
But unfortunately, your children had a plan to spend all of your discretionary income on ordering Starbucks drinks they learned about on TikTok.
Your car's on the fritz, and you've been thinking about trading up to an electric.
Sadly, that is not going to happen as your kid racked up a multi-$1,000 bill on Roblox, which you must now pay back in monthly installments.
The good news, you get a tax refund for each child on your federal income tax.
The bad news is your kid wants a pair of rare Jordans for his birthday. It's still going to come out as a loss.
Hey there, you're pretty sure this is the year you'll be able to put some of that cash away towards the college fund.
Just kidding. Your kid got into travel sports, and you'll be spending every spare cent you have on hotel rooms.
This has been Things We Are Sorry to Break to You about your financial future.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast. So there are some sort of best practices around ages and stages and helping kids start understanding money that I've gotten from two different finance writers, Beth Kobliner and Bethany Fisher.
Okay.
I thought we'd go through these. So starting with preschoolers, I mean, younger than 3, like, they don't know what you're talking about, nor should they.
Younger than 3, they eat money, literally. So just keep it away from them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I have right here. It's fun to have preschoolers work on counting coins, but never leave the room while you're doing that because it's a choking hazard. Coins are choking hazards.
We were just at a children's museum in Texas. That's fantastic. McKenna Children's Museum. If you're ever near New Braunfels or San Antonio, amazing. And they have, it's like a little town, they have a mailbox and an emergency room. Like the kids get to pretend to be all the different people in the town. It's awesome. But the grocery store was a hilarious havoc of like kids throwing $100 bills in the air and at each other. And my older kid who was helping me with the little ones.
Like that Demi Moore movie. Just money flying.
I mean, and then my 11-year-old, who's extremely organized and like very bossy, was trying to manage the grocery store because we were really there with the little kids. It's for like kids under 6. And it was hilarious. She was like, you cannot pay for $100 thing with $20. I was like, stop yelling at a 2-year-old. He does not understand.
It's hard. Like bills. I mean, my kids were older than I thought that they should be, but to know the difference between a dime and a nickel, they really weren't sure. And I was like, what? And I was
I might be able to check that with my tweens. I think they've got it now, but yikes.
Yeah. And even with little kids, it's a matter of narrating. This was something that Sue Dominus, who we both know in real life, she's a writer for the New York Times, and she talked about handling your...
Went to middle school with her, as a matter of fact, not to brag.
Did you? I went to college with her. And she talked about narrating when you're using your phone in front of your kids, that you narrate. Like, I'm just looking up the directions to the playground on Google Maps, and then I'm going to put my phone away. Whatever, that you explain to them what you're doing on your phone, because otherwise they're just like, mommy's just like not looking at me. That is somewhat helpful. So I think about that all the time. And it's sort of related to the next bit of advice for little kids. Like just narrate it. Like, oh, these are our groceries and I have to pay for these and I'm going to use a credit card and let's see how much it is. And I'm going to put my credit card in now. I mean, just to get the notion in that there's a transaction happening that one has to pay for. And credit card is one kind of money. You can kind of start there. 5 to 7-year-olds, they said comparison shopping at the grocery store is an easy way to sort of engage them and make them wonder about things.
I think that's right. And I think also 5 to 7 is a good time for one of our listeners, I think, recommended this. Let's take a picture of that and we'll remember it for your birthday.
Oh, yes. That's such a good, yes.
Because I think that in the same way that like you think about like, well, we have to talk about sex with our kids. It's like, that's a lot of different elements. It's like how we relate to people, how we let people treat us, consent. There's a million things that go into that conversation that are not like technically biological. And I think the same thing with money is like, oh, great, we want something. Let's put that on a list and we'll think about if we really want it in relation to the other things we want and making kind of bigger choices that are not just like, let's actually see if we can get it for $5 instead of $7.
Something with older kids. I remember once going somewhere, I guess my kids were probably like 11, 12 then. And my kid was just, looking out the window while I was at the gas station. And it's like, why are there different kinds of gas? And why is one kind of gas more expensive than the other? And I was like, I don't know, because the more expensive gas is better. I'm like, but is it really better? This is a kid who's always asking the question, always looking for the unexplored angle. I'm like, what a good question. So we're on a road trip. And then when we like sat down at the McDonald's, I'm like, let's look it up. And we learned this whole thing about like, why is the more expensive gas more expensive? And do you really need it? And in case you're wondering, it won't turn your minivan into a Porsche. But if you have a Porsche, it'll make your Porsche drive better.
It's interesting. It reminds me of Britt Hawthorne, who was talking about anti-racism on a Fresh Take with us. She used a phrase, curious questions, in terms of like how to approach questions that kids might have about race and differences. And well, that's a curious question. And I find that as I have tweens, like their curious questions get very interesting, just like that. They're like, well, what makes this go? And one of my kids asked me the other day, and it tickled me because it was very sincere. And to me, it seemed really funny. We went to see The Lion King, and we stayed at the stage door and met the little kids who played Simba and Nala. And they were about my kid's age. And we were just talking, this happened a couple years ago, and we were talking about it the other day. And my son, and he just asked in a very sweet way, he was like, are those kids, do they get paid or are they volunteers? And I was like, no, they get paid. They get paid, it's called equity scale. They're in a union. They get paid probably about, $800 a week. And he was like, whoa. And like, what does a kid do when they earn money? And I'm like, we had a long conversation about, kids who earn money and how that works. But yeah, the things they don't know surprise me. And then the questions they ask are but I think it's a good practice when questions come up, if it's a good time, to take them as curious questions and try to say like, I like that. Like, let's look that up. Like, let's look up why gas is different prices. I don't know. It's interesting. And like, okay, you have a question about like,
right.
Let's look up like why these things, how you set things up in a store. I don't know. Just interesting stuff that comes up with kids.
I have another idea for grade schoolers, because I was this grade schooler. The department store in our town, the Globe store, which doesn't exist anymore, but it used to have this incredible thing called Santa's World that was, I think, run by volunteers, mostly moms. And it was just like, like little drummer boy candle holders, that the kind of stuff you'd get at Spencer's Gifts or, now it'd be a TJ Maxx. Imagine TJ Maxx. And they just had sort of remainders of stuff, and they set them up on tables. And there were adults there to help you, but your grown-ups couldn't come in with you. And I would go in there with a budget of like, I have, $3 to spend on a gift for my grandmother, and I have $8 to spend on a gift for my mother. And you'd go up and down the aisles and you had your budget and you had to pick out gifts. I loved it so much. And those gifts meant so much to me because I had chosen them and considered them. And do I have enough for this? Well, maybe if I buy this instead. And it was like, I really wish there was a Santa's World in every town, but creating that experience for your kid, if you can do it, is very useful.
Yeah, I do think my kids have lost that. And it's because like we've lost the value of that money. Like I definitely remember we would save our allowance every week to go down to the pharmacy and like, okay, if I really want candy, but I more want stickers for my collection. And it felt like we were making those very organically. And now I feel like we just do a lot of like at the checkout stand, the kids being like, oh, I actually do need a pencil or whatever. I mean, I actually do need this, new headphones. And it's like, all right, throw them in the car. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like, it definitely feels like we've lost that.
Or saying like, stop being so spoiled. Do you think this stuff grows on trees? Like, well, if you're not presenting to them any alternative to the fact that they do grow on trees, then how would they know?
Yeah. And the other context I do try to give my kids, because we were talking about, again, my one kid who's very obsessed with like getting things. It's just, it's baked in the cake. It's very hardwired. And I was trying to explain like, whatever, he got a desk that lights up for Christmas like 3 years ago. And now he's like, I want a different desk. And I said, well, you got that really crazy light up desk. I mean, that's your desk through high school. Like, you don't need another desk. You've got the desk. And he's like, well, but I really want this other kind of desk. And I said, first of all, we don't have the money. Second of all, you can't save $2, no less, the money you would need for that desk. And third of all, like, we don't want to just keep throwing stuff in landfills. Like at a certain point, it's our responsibility on some basic level to be stewards of what we consume, because the 8,000 like throwaway iPhone cords are going somewhere,
That's a really good point. And that's a whole separate episode, isn't it? About being stewards of what we consume. We haven't even talked about that as part of this, and it is part of it. you don't need the new sneakers when your old sneakers still fit you. I know that the orange ones were cool last year and the green ones are cool this year, but that's tough. And you have to choose, right? Like, I mean, all I wanted when I was that age was an alligator shirt, and I had like the Sears dragon shirt instead. But
oh, the sad night with the dragon. I'm so sorry. My husband talks about that as well. It's a painful experience.
Sometimes it's worth it, I think, to let them buy in. Okay, you have to spend some of your babysitting money because the alligator shirt costs twice as much as the dragon shirt, and it's the same shirt. But if you really want one, I mean, I understand how preteens and teens have this, desire to fit in, buy a sweatshirt that says Benetton on it or whatever the kids are doing these days, Margaret, which isn't that.
What the kids are doing. I mean, I think what we've come to, and I think it was a really interesting conversation, it's something I'm thinking about a lot, is that money, when you have disposable income, is about like what you value. It's kind of an ultimate version of your values, like literally like where you spend money and how you spend money. And that I don't think that teaching kids to pass the interest and diversification of portfolio stuff. I mean, this is the thing. I don't own any stocks because I don't have enough money. Like, I don't need to diversify my portfolio. I don't have a portfolio. I do have enough money now to go to Target without worrying about it. But like, I don't know that you need to get into like interest rates and stuff. But I do think that you need to give voice all the time to like, well, that costs money. If we spend money on that, we won't have money for this. And like, I give you $20 at the pool and you bought 12 ice creams for all your friends. That was your $20 for the week at the pool. So I guess you're not having ice cream anymore. It's really about using every experience where you interact with money, and having both had this experience to varying degrees. If you are struggling financially, I think it's also okay to say, let's pick one thing that we want to do as a family that costs under X amount of dollars, and let's save for that for a couple of months and make that stuff visible to kids. Because what we're saying is like, money has a role in our life, but it is not the purpose of our life.
Right.
Unless you're my Gordon Gekko child, in which case it does. But that's an exception to the rule.
Bling, 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 baby. I can't wait to hear what he buys with his newfound cash for all this hard work.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's going to be settling a tremendous amount of debts before that, Amy. So we'll see what he has left to buy. But also this babysitting trip was involved. It was for the grandparents are involved. So I also know that no matter what I pay him, he's cutting side deals with Nana and Papa as well. So he may come home with a Bugatti. Who knows?
Hey, we're on YouTube now. Just search What Fresh Hell Podcast. We're putting videos of many of our episodes and clips and all kinds of things. So if you're on YouTube, even if you don't listen to the show on YouTube, if you just follow us on there, it'll help us find more listeners because it'll help YouTube be like, oh, this is a good show to show moms. So it would really help us out.
Oh, that's such a good point. I used to always say to people when we were starting the podcast, you don't have to listen, but you do have to subscribe. Yeah. And now I'm going to say that about YouTube. You don't have to watch us on YouTube, but you do have to subscribe.
Right. Hey, YouTube, we like them.
I mean, I ask you kindly to subscribe, of course. Yeah. Well, with that, Amy, we've solved it again, and we will talk to you all next week.
So long.